All-Star Weekend, and you can't really talk about All-Star Weekend without first going over the snubs. I'm sure everyone's already seen all the rosters, but I just want to go. I'll kick it to you first. Any snubs that come to mind, especially now that we've had some replacements, like Mike Conley replaced Booker, who had replaced Anthony Davis, correct? I think so. But
Yeah. I mean, before the injuries, I thought obviously Sabonis and Booker were probably the two biggest ones. I'm glad that both of them got in. I saw some stat line that was like Sabonis was the first ever player to average like 20 something, 10 something, and five and not make the All Star team. So, out of everyone, I thought he was the biggest All Star snub, but obviously him and Booker have made it. Now Booker's hurt, so I guess that still means that he's technically considered an All Star this year. But Mike Conley has replaced him. I don't know how I feel about that. It doesn't feel like Mike Conley's putting up all star numbers. He's putting up like 16, 4, and 5, I think, off the top of my head, something around there. Compared to some of these other guys, obviously, I know that it had to be somebody from the West because it was Devin Booker who got hurt. So Trey Young, another guy who I thought got snubbed, he couldn't, I don't think, fill that spot according to the rules. I might be wrong on that. But I think he was a big snub. I thought Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo made some cases to potentially be in the All Star game. And then on the West side, I thought Brandon Ingram's had another really solid season. I sort of expected him to make it, but I understand why he didn't because he didn't necessarily have the same year so far as he did last year. And Zion's really emerged as sort of the go to guy on the Pelicans. So overall, for the most part, I feel like they got it right. Um, I would just say, especially since the Booker and Sponis got added, I think the one guy who I think really had an argument to get in there that didn't though would be Trey Young, because statistically he's just having a monster season. I think it's pretty obvious that he is the lifeblood of the Hawks, and without him they'd be pretty bad.
so yeah, for me, I wouldn't really say Trey Young, but especially I feel like especially since it was Michael Conley, I would have rather had I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because I mean big reason why the Thunder are for somehow relevant. Definitely over Mike Conley. I mean, yeah, I didn't really. I feel like that's. I don't want to assume things, but it feels like it was like a pity throw in because the Jazz, they got the other two players got picked last. I don't know, but
Just real quick,
mhm.
to be honest, I so they came out that he was invited to the All Star game like a few hours before it came out that Booker was hurt, and I completely thought this was like a Dirk Nowitzki, Dwayne Wade kind of invite where neither of them actually should have made it because they weren't playing at All Star levels, but they got the invite.
Because
I
of the
think
name.
I don't know if Vince Carter got the same thing, but I was
I
like,
don't think he
Mike
did.
Conley, like what?
Oh, kind of like
It did not make sense.
yeah, I think Kobe did that final his final year too.
Yeah,
And it's a shame
but Mike
because
Conley, I don't
yeah,
know.
Mike Conley. I don't know. That's the only one. But yeah, I would say I feel like Shy Gills. I know DeRozan was upset, but and I'm very critical of DeRozan, so maybe this I shouldn't be the one that you take this from. I just didn't feel like I would have put Shai Gilgeous over DeMar DeRozan just because not only offensively but also defensively. But I know it's the All Star game; they're probably not gonna play much defense. But still, I feel like overall I would have rather had Shai Gilgeous. But yeah, like you mentioned, I
Well,
mean,
then
I was
who would you put then, DeRozan or Mike Conley between those two?
I'd probably go DeRozan to be honest. Like
I completely think it's DeRozan. I think he has better stats in points, assists, and rebounds.
and
I
like
don't
you
know about
mentioned with
steals,
Trey Young,
blocks,
like
but
a little more important to the Spurs offense. As much as I'm critical of him, he is. But as opposed to Mike Conley, where I mean, I feel like he's been out. I mean, he's been in and out the last two seasons anyway. And the Jazz,
right.
especially this year, have still the train's still moving. They're still first in the West. So and no offense to Mike Conley, because he's obviously a very good basketball player, but I just didn't feel like he was at the All Star level, especially that when you just look at the rosters. Like I'm looking at him right now, I just feel like he didn't belong with that. But
He sticks out.
yeah, he definitely does. But in terms of anyone else, yeah, maybe Bam. I was surprised Bam. I was surprised one of them, either Bam or Jimmy. I didn't think both would get in. I thought maybe one, but it's tough because it's one of the few years where the East has a lot. I mean, you have your two Celtics guys. Obviously Joel Embiid. I mean Bradley Bill. Um, you know, and then Kyrie. You just have there's a lot. And then now James. I was surprised James Harden. I guess just because he hadn't been there. Just because he spent like what the first month not playing. So, but he's James Harden. So that's on me. But I mean I was glad Julius Randle got in. But otherwise, I mean, I really don't see any snubs. I know Nikola Vucevic doesn't get much love, but he's been a very solid big for a long time. So, and he's still doing it, this year. So, yeah, only real snub I'd say is Shai Gilgeous, just in my opinion. But otherwise, I feel like it was pretty good all around. I really don't have any others I want to name. I mean, I could see Trey Young. I just felt like I don't know. It just, I mean, this may not be Trey's fault. Just Hawks haven't been as consistent this year, and they had higher expectations. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I got nothing. Anything else you wanted to add?
I'm, I mean, the only other name that I could think of would be like Fred Van Vliet, but even then, I don't think that
He
he
didn't start off
necessarily
the
should have
season
made
so
it.
hot either. So yeah,
Yeah, it's just I remember right when the teams got announced, he was one of the guys that was like upset on social media about it. So
yeah. Well, yeah, Demar's obviously upset. He's been as soon as Mike Conley got named, he was very upset about that. But
that
uh,
that one I understand. All right, Mike Conley, he's I think he's better than Mike Conley.
yeah, I guess. But so yeah, if that's gonna wrap it up for the snubs, we're just gonna get right into